Hello and welcome, I am Thomas Porteous and you are watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. Rescue efforts in Myanmar press on after Friday's deadly earthquake, with the death toll now at over 1,700. Hundreds remain missing as search operations continue in both Myanmar and neighbouring Thailand. US President Donald Trump has said he is very angry with Russian President Vladimir Putin after weeks of ceasefire talks in Ukraine. In an NBC News interview, the US President threatened to impose a 50% tariff on countries purchasing Russian oil. In the same NBC interview, Republican President Donald Trump says he is not joking about seeking a third presidential term, barred by the Constitution, but insists it is too early to consider such a move. The Red Cross Foundation expressed outrage after 8 medical colleagues were killed while on duty in the Gaza Strip. A reported 64 people have also been killed by Israeli forces in Gaza within the last 24 hours. A tsunami warning has been issued after a 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck near the Pacific island nation of Tonga. The earthquake occurred at a depth of 10 kilometers. Tonga Meteorological Services urged residents in risk areas to evacuate inland to high ground, 3-story solid buildings or designated tsunami evacuation sites. US President Donald Trump has threatened Iran with bombs and secondary tariffs if it does not sign a nuclear deal with the United States. Trump says he will wait a couple of weeks before making a final decision. Billionaire and close Trump ally Elon Musk has given away $1 million checks to voters in Wisconsin ahead of Tuesday's Supreme Court elections. This follows a lawsuit filed by the Attorney General, who argues that Musk is violating a state law banning gifts in exchange for votes. 4 weeks before Canadians head to the polls in a general election, current Prime Minister Mark Carney holds a lead in the latest polls. The vote takes place amid escalating tensions with the United States and its President Donald Trump. We move into our coverage surrounding the Myanmar and Thailand earthquake now, and according to reports, nearly 1,700 have been confirmed dead so far, and around 3,400 are injured, and around 300 more are missing in Myanmar days after the massive deadly earthquake struck near the city of Mandalay. The tremors collapsed buildings, downed bridges and buckled roads, with mass destruction seen in the city of more than 1.7 million people. Across the border in Thailand, rescuers in Bangkok worked on Sunday to pluck out survivors trapped when a 30-story skyscraper was under construction collapsed after the Friday earthquake. At least 18 people have been killed in the Thai capital, with 33 injured and 78 still missing. A joint team of experts from Israel's Army and Defense Ministry has arrived in Bangkok to assist Thai authorities in the ongoing rescue effort. Footage shared by the Israeli Army showed the team cooperating with Thai authorities at the site of the collapsed 33-story building amid ongoing efforts to rescue dozens of workers trapped under the rubble. The team from Israel consisted of engineering and civil affairs officers from the National Rescue Unit of the Home Front Command and coordinated by the International Cooperation Unit. People injured in the earthquake have been left to receive medical treatment in open air and at local hospital in Myanmar's capital city, after the disaster damaged buildings and made the facility unsafe to take patients inside. Meanwhile, China's National Rescue Team successfully pulled a female resident alive from the wreckage of a collapsed hotel in quake-hit Mandalay City in Myanmar on Monday, nearly 60 hours after the earthquake struck the country. She is the first person saved by the China Search and Rescue Team since their arrival in the city. Da Hong Dai and Jingpo Autonomous Prefecture in the southwest China's Yunnan province has also swiftly mobilized relief supplies worth 1.1 million yuan to support relief efforts in the affected areas in Myanmar. We are now joined by our reporter live, Brian Thomas, correspondent for NewsX World, live in Bangkok, Thailand. Brian, what can you tell us? What updates can you give us? How are these rescue efforts going? Brian, I believe your audio is switched off.
Well, am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, definitely. The situation is still getting, better day by day. But here where we are at Samsat, this building, this 30-story building, this is the oldest building, 3-story office, which was under construction, fell prey to the earthquake that took place. Till now, yes, there are lives also have been increased. The death toll has been risen to more than 12 now. Even there are more than 300 people who are still under 100 people rather are still under the debris. And right now, this is the epicenter was 1,000 kilometers away. But definitely, this building, this collapsed building, was a joint venture between Italian Thai Development PLC and China Railway Number 10 Thailand Limited. It was reportedly, yes, the unfinished headquarters of Thailand State Audit Office and had been under construction also under 3 years. So definitely the situation have been very difficult here because you have the 72-hour window, and today is probably one of the most crucial days because just more than 15 hours are left for the rescue operations to be going on full swing. And yes, the hopes, even though yes, the hopes are still kind of fading away, but you can see the rescue operations going on. You can see those big machines, big cranes being deployed here. They've been working from 28 itself from 2 p.m. It's a 24/7 work that has been going on, and the authorities are doing everything they can in their capacity to help the people who are still stuck. The estimated number goes around more than 100, but still there's no official number or exact number of the people who are still stuck under the debris. But yes, the authorities are doing everything they can in their capacity to rescue the people as soon as they can. Yes.
Brian, you obviously stood next to the building, the 30-story building that collapsed in Bangkok. Is there talks of a possible safety failure with the building? And are people angry about holding someone responsible for the collapse?
Well, more than blaming anyone per se, yes, there have been inquiries going on, there have been talks going on, but yet on the other side as well, the rescue operations are also happening. Let me again, pan the camera and show you the rescue operations that is going on full swing just outside this very place. And very importantly, also this collapsed building is a joint venture between Italian Thai Development PLC and China Railway 10. And very importantly, even Thailand's Deputy Prime Minister has ordered a rapid high-level investigation into the collapse that happened. And now, yes, there have been experts, including civil engineers, have expressed concerns also about potential design or construction flaws, noting that there are other buildings in the city did not suffer the same fate. Even very importantly, Ministry of Industry has also sent an inspection team to assess the quality and the materials of, to detect what exactly happened. So definitely, there are some speculations being arise about the construction of the building, what went wrong, what kind of materials were used, because there are many such high-rise buildings, but they were normal. Yes, there were some cracks, there were some shoulders there, but this is that one building that actually fell, where there were supposedly 800 people who were still working, but unfortunately it fell, and there are more than 100 people who are still stuck inside. Yes.
Thank you very much, Brian, our reporter there on the ground in Bangkok. We now move to our guest now to discuss this further. Jay Shankar Mukherjee, Secretary VHP of Thailand, located in Thailand. Jay Shankar, what is the situation on the ground like? It's been over 72 hours now since this devastating earthquake hit the city of Bangkok. It's obviously been declared by Prime Minister of Thailand that the country is safe to go outside, go back indoors. What's the situation on the ground like? Is it still affecting you?
Yeah, it's a panicky situation right now. There is a fire alarm further, and everybody is told to evacuate the building. I'm sorry, we'll go live after 15 minutes. You can catch me on the phone later. Thanks, bye.
Okay, we move on to some more news. US President Donald Trump is making waves in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. He's pushing for a ceasefire deal, but with a catch. Trump is urging Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky to sign over an exclusive mineral rights to US firms, and he's not happy with Vladimir Putin either, slamming the Russian leader for questioning Zelensky's credibility. Meanwhile, fighting rages on. Russian and Ukrainian forces exchange fire in Russia's Kursk region. Ukraine claims it shot down 65 Russian drones overnight. And in Kharkiv, military hospital was hit by Russian drone strikes, injuring soldiers. Amid all this, Russia is floating a new idea, setting up a UN-supervised temporary administration in Ukraine. But that would need backing from all UN Security Council members. And in Kiev, Dutch Defence Minister Ruben Brekelmans warns that Ukraine needs military aid now as Russia ramps up its attacks. Let's take a listen in to what he had to say.
And Ukraine basically needs more of everything: ammunition, armed vehicles, drones, air defense. And we as Europeans, but also the United States, we need to keep up our deliveries. We also see that Russia is putting more and more equipment, more and more troops, more and more of everything at the battlefield. And we need to make sure that Ukraine can negotiate from a position of strength.
To discuss this further, we are joined by Daniel Boardman, correspondent for the National Telegraph, located in Ottawa, Canada. Thank you very much for joining us, Daniel. I first wanted to obviously point out the obvious and talk about this sudden change of direction from Donald Trump. He's known to change his mind. What do you think about Trump and Zelensky's relationship going forward after this outburst from the president?
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been great. I mean, it's not worse than what happened in the Oval Office when Zelensky and JD Vance went at it. So, bright side for Ukraine, this isn't the worst Trump-Zelensky crisis in the last month. But Donald Trump is also mad at Russia because they're not coming to the table. So, I mean, this is just, I think this is proof that you can't just say, oh, I love peace, I hate war, I love the most peace, I'm for peace, and that makes peace happen. I'm reluctant to agree with the Europeans on this one, but I agree with the Europeans on this one. If you want to end the war, Ukraine does need to negotiate from a position of strength. Rarely the Europeans will find themselves into correct foreign policy. I mean, maybe they'll say it, but doing it is another thing. And what you have to understand here is Russia's economy is geared for war. All the young men are on the front lines, and the people are in the factories making very good money to produce for the war effort. The economy is fully geared for war. A ceasefire right now would result in a economic collapse inside Russia. So Russia is sort of incentivized to keep the war going as long as they possibly can, and pretty much at this rate, take over Ukraine, push to the Baltics, then through Poland. They're sort of kind of dead set on this path, economic suicide. So with Trump's idea to sort of get a minerals deal into Ukraine and stop the fighting, I think this is where the Ukrainians really messed up. And the worst shot fired in this war was the shot Zelensky took at JD Vance in the White House, because had Ukraine sort of been able to just sort of suffer some territory for a little bit, the deal would have never manifested. But had Zelensky just gone along with Donald Trump's sort of peace plan full on and not started a fight with Trump and just let him say whatever he wanted to, it would put the Russians in a position where they'd have to defy Trump, because they can't really get into a ceasefire. As you see, all Ukraine really needs to do is just avoid disarmament, and any ceasefire benefits them more than the Russians, because yes, the Russians would take territory, but it would probably institute an economic crisis within Russia as the war machine stops pumping, and then all the the inflationary aspects take part in the economy. So you see this where we have real world issues that need to be solved, and there's sort of reasons why people are continuing to fight, and if we don't address them, then Russia and Ukraine are going to continue to fight because, Russia sort of is geared for war right now.
Daniel, what do you think of Donald Trump's negotiating strategy in this? Obviously, he's been flip-flapping on the terms of kind of moving to one side and then moving to the other. You can see him kind of edging towards Ukraine now, especially in regards to this mineral deal as well. Do you think Donald Trump is kind of, reports say he might see through Vladimir Putin's unwillingness to peace? Do you think that's what he thinks, or what do you think of Donald Trump's negotiating strategy in this regard?
This is a very good question. So I parse it out this way. The strategy is actually quite sound. The execution is not. So the strategy from Trump seems to be, and this is a viable strategy. Okay, America has the biggest stick, but we're willing to negotiate, okay? So the Trump thing is basically to establish American dominance in the situation. Is basically, can I dictate my way or the highway? And so the Russians got this and started to say, yeah, sure, yes to Trump, not really meaning it, but just saying yes along with the strategy. Where then the Ukrainians were the first ones to point out sort of, I guess, the flaw and push and not just sort of play the Trump game to what would have likely been a win for them, as would have been a loss for Russia. But then again, the execution is, and then you have J.D. Vance yelling at Zelensky in the White House. You have certain, isolationist Republicans mouthing off, saying sort of, crazy things on Twitter. So the strategy is sound, right? Because if you can force both sides into negotiation, right? Okay, if Ukraine as a nation survives, this means if you don't disarm and you continue to be a functioning country, then you win, because as you saw, the Russian war machine has now got going, but at the first couple years, it lazily got up. It will eat itself due to corruption naturally within Russian society. So had Ukraine gotten the ceasefire, they actually could have won. But likely you would have not got to the ceasefire, but had Ukraine played ball, well, then America would have been forced to arm Ukraine further, which would have pushed Russia into a situation where they've been more forced to negotiate a peace in terms that they could have weaned off. The problem is it's been sort of clunkily instituted, and I don't think everyone in the Republican Party fully understands the strategy. You have people who I think are in the administration who have sort of carrying a vendetta towards Ukraine and Europe due to American cultural political issues. And that's kind of getting in the way of the Ukraine-Russia war effort, where there's two frames you're looking at it. One, there's the actual Russia-Ukraine war, which involved the country of Russia and the country of Ukraine and their internal politics and the reality on the ground. And then you have sort of the Western cultural aspect towards the Russia-Ukraine war, where it became sort of a right-left establishment, anti-establishment sort of wedge issue in a way. And I think these two things are coming into conflict. And Trump is trying to sort of sell the negotiations in one sphere of the world, which is this online, Elon Musk Twitter sphere. And it's disconnected from the reality on the ground there. And I think if Trump really wants to bring peace, he needs to focus more on the reality on the ground between Russia and Ukraine, understand what the Russians' incentives were. I mean, this was one of the good things about Trump 1.0, the administration. He was correct with the Europeans. If you don't have actual leverage over the Russians, which is natural gas of your own or from America, and you're reliant on Russian natural gas, it's going to be much harder to deter the Russians from doing something like they did in 2022. So what Trump is sort of come up with, and what the smarter people than Trump administration have, I actually kind of, in theory, like the strategy they put out in Ukraine. It's just, I'm not sure if everyone was on board, and thus it led to the execution being poor. Because if you're trying to manage the feelings of someone like Tucker Carlson, who's kind of gone off the deep end geopolitically, and then actually manage a peace between Russia and Ukraine, it's not really viable to try and mix these sort of online culture war issues with the reality, real world ramifications of a kinetic war.
Yes, and talking about what's going on the ground, what do you make of it? Obviously, Russia has now claimed back the Kursk region, and there are reports from this minister that Ukraine is desperate now for military aid from foreign countries. What do you make of what's going on the ground right now?
Yeah, it's a real shame that the Ukrainians lost Kursk. I mean, Trump's line to Zelensky that that was actually untrue. It was, about the cards and not being able to hold the cards and all that. Well, Kursk was actually a major card the Ukrainians held. It was sort of a brilliant ploy by the Ukrainians, which if they take Kursk and they can bargain back regions of Kursk for regions in Russia, or just to get a little bit and get a ceasefire, again, and then for again a rearm and if I mean. Time benefits Ukraine because they can build up defenses because they're going to be the ones invaded and build up military production. So Kursk was a major card that could have been used to end the war and get to negotiated peace faster. So it is really unfortunate because it likely will extend the war. The inability to bargain Kursk for a peace because as you see, Ukraine's trying to find another bargaining chip to actually negotiate with negotiation can only end a war if two sides have something to negotiate with. So without Kursk, this is again where reality and feelings of, oh, I hate war so much, like everyone does. No one likes killing. If we could protect every child in the world with a push of a button, most of us push the button. But there's realities to these things, and the loss of Kursk is going to likely prolong the war, and it makes negotiating peace much, much harder in reality.
Yes. Daniel Boardman, thank you very much for joining us. We now move to some more news updates in regard to the Myanmar quake. At least 18 people have been killed in the Thai capital, with 33 injured and 78 still missing. A joint team of experts from Israel's army and defense ministry has arrived in Bangkok to assist authorities. We are now joined by our guest, Jay Shankar, who's joining us from Thailand. What's the situation? It's obviously been 72 hours since this earthquake, over 72 hours. What's the situation on the ground like after this devastating earthquake? Is it still affecting your day-to-day life? Obviously the state of emergency was removed hours after it, and everything else was opened. Is it still affecting everything going on?
Absolutely, it is affecting. Today morning, we realized the false ceiling in our office building, entire ceiling came down on the floor. Our building is around 52nd story, but our office is on 16th floor. So we immediately ordered work from home, and all employees went back to home until the office gets repaired. But right now, 5 minutes back, we had another alarm, and all buildings alarm, if you can hear me, these are all ringing, and all workers from the construction site, they all came down. This is the construction site nearby.
Jay Shankar, please may you remove the blush filter from your Zoom. Apologies for this.
Sorry, could you repeat?
I believe there's a filter on your camera. Sorry, carry on. Don't worry about it.
Okay. The only thing I'm saying, there is an alarm, and it seems that we need to evacuate immediately. So we are on streets again, and every building is evacuating. I'll try to remove that filter once this meeting is over. But people are coming down on the street. This happened just while talking to you a few minutes back. So I had to come down and rush down from 21st floor of my residence. But office buildings and everything are evacuated anyway.
Yes.
While talking to you, I am getting multiple calls and multiple messages that entire city has again been ordered to evacuate. Many people felt aftershock. So this is Bangkok, and right now time is around 11:30. Yeah, if I'm not wrong, in the morning on Monday. 11:56 to be precise on Monday.
Jay Shankar Mukherjee, what kind of steps are being taken by the government to help people who have been traumatized by this earthquake or have been severely affected by this earthquake? Is the support there available in the city of Bangkok?
Yeah, Bangkok governor and the Thailand government is doing adequate things. They immediately on the same night, Friday night, they ordered all the essentials to be given to the parks, and they requested citizens who can't go to their high-rise building due to cracks and everything to move to the nearby parks, and they supplied medicine, supplied water, some basic foods, and camps and mobile toilets. So government is taking care of, and they have enabled a kind of a system to alert all the high-rise building at the same time when there is a tremor felt. So I guess today something like that happened, and again, Again, the tremor felt, and the evacuation today happened much faster than the last time.
Jay Shankar, so quick last question. Obviously, there was this 30-story building that collapsed, the high-rise that we're seeing the visuals of it now, where rescue efforts are ongoing. Was there a safety failure, and do you think there was someone responsible for this? Is there an investigation going on into this?
Yes, I would say it is definitely, there is some kind of a lack somewhere in the government officers. The soil probably was not tested. However, I'm not a technical expert to comment on that. But people should have taken more precaution before approving the permission and sanction to build a multi-story building like that. So it has never happened in Thailand that was the only building affected so much, which fell down drastically or completely. Other buildings like my own residence has got multiple cracks, and multiple offices buildings and others have got cracks. However, government should be more cautious and careful to take care of this in future.
Sorry, apologies. One final question, Jay Shankar. Thailand is obviously a tourism hub. All the major places reopening after the quake. Do you think this is safe? Do the people of Bangkok think this is safe? Is life going back to normal?
Yeah, people are going back to normal, and government issued a circular on Saturday morning that everything is normal. You can go back to your offices. Tourists are most welcome, and they have taken all the precautions. The trains right now, while I'm talking to you, have again been suspended right now, but it was operational from Saturday morning until today. So again, public transport has been suspended just now.
Oh, wow. Jay Shankar Mukherjee, thank you very, very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We move on now to some news from the Middle East. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society has said that it has recovered the bodies of 16 rescuers killed a week ago when their ambulance came under fire near Rafah. Among the dead are 8 medics from the Red Crescent, 6 members of Gaza's Civil Defense Agency, and 1 UN agency employee. The Red Cross said that 1 medic still remains missing. The Red Crescent also accused the Israeli authorities of refusing to allow search operations to locate its crew. The Red Cross has expressed outrage, calling the attack a violation of international humanitarian law. It said that humanitarians must be protected, adding that the ambulances were clearly marked. Israel's military admitted firing on the vehicles but said that they were suspicious. It claimed that Hamas and other terrorist groups have used ambulances for plotting attacks. This incident comes amid ongoing Israeli strikes on Gaza, with hundreds killed since the Israeli military resumed operations in mid-March. Let's take a listen to what the director of the Gaza hospitals and the executive director of the Red Crescent had to say about the matter.
اليوم نقف في أمام جريمة كبيرة بكل المقاييس، جريمة تندى لها جبين العالمية أجمع، جريمة قتل فيها 10 من ضباط الإسعاف والدفاع المدني على مرأى ومسمع العالم بإصابات وقاتلة مباشرة وبإطلاق نار مباشر، وهم في سياراتهم، سيارات الإسعاف وسيارات الدفاع المدني، ذاهبون لإنقاذ الأرواح. اليوم بعد 8 أيام من المماطلة سمح الاحتلال ودل على مكان دفن هؤلاء الجثامين الطاهرة. تمكنت طواقم الهلال الأحمر والإسعاف من إحضار هذه الجثامين الطاهرة.
8 شهداء من الهلال الأحمر الفلسطيني و6 شهداء من الدفاع المدني ارتقوا بسبب عنجهية هذا الجيش الذي لا يحترم قوانين دولية ولا معاهدات دولية ولا يراعي أي شكل من الأشكال الإنسانية في تعامله مع المؤسسات الإنسانية.
Meanwhile, Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister, has said that Hamas leaders will be allowed to leave Gaza, but only if they give up their weapons. He has claimed that military pressure on the group is working as negotiations for a ceasefire continues. Hamas has not said that it will disarm itself. The group has, however, agreed to a new ceasefire proposal from mediators, but Israel has sent a counter-offer. Israel continues its bombardment of Gaza. A strike on a tent in Khan Yunis killed at least 8 people, including 5 children. This happened on the first day of Eid al-Fitr. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis in Jerusalem. Netanyahu said that the two would discuss security challenge and defence cooperation, as well as economic opportunities. During his visit, Mitsotakis also met with Israeli President Isaac Herzog. The two discussed the situation in Gaza and the remaining hostages held by Hamas. Herzog stressed that Israel's military operations are focused on securing the release of these hostages. He said that their safe return is Israel's highest priority. He also expressed concern over reports about the hostages' medical conditions. Mitsotakis reaffirmed his support for Israel and joined the call for the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. He also said he hopes for a new ceasefire in Gaza. The two leaders also discussed recent terror attacks. The Greek Prime Minister also signed the president's guest book, writing that he wished to emphasize the strategic partnership and strong ties of friendship between Greece and Israel.
Let me add my voice to those who call for the immediate and unconditional release of all the hostages. But let me also add my voice to those who express a sincere hope that as quickly as possible there will be a new ceasefire in Gaza, and that finally the release of the hostages will be accompanied by a framework that will allow us all to think about the day after.
Well, that's all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more news updates from across the world.